Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Has anyone ever been in a strange reality glitch where they should have died but did not? Last year it was really cold and it was sleeting, and the roads were iced over. Black ice. I am driving to work, and I am about to be late. There is a car in front of me going about 60, and I'm going about 85. I change lanes and see a car just stalled in the middle of the road. I'm about 20 to 30 feet away from this car. I slam on my brakes, and everything around me slows down. Everything I see becomes warped and stretched out. The car stopped in front of me disappears, and I'm on my way back to work safe, when I should have been dead.
It was 1987 and I was in high school JROTC, Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, flying back to New Mexico from California after a field trip on an old DC-9 the military uses for personnel transport. I was sleeping my way through a boring flight when everything changed. The next thing I remember was being awoken with everyone screaming. Then I heard the sound of shifting cargo. Our stuff was flying out of the overhead storage compartments as the doors were flipping open. I took a backpack to the face and was narrowly missed by a briefcase. That really woke me up, but I was still trying to figure out what was going on. There was total pandemonium on the plane as people were falling from one side to the next. I managed to shift my position enough to see the window, and I only saw the ground. The plane was at a 90-degree angle to the earth, and close. Then, I don't remember anything for what seemed like a weird, shifting, dizzy moment. Suddenly, I mean really just an instant, I was back in my seat and the plane was level. Luggage and cargo was back where it was supposed to be, and every fucking one of us on that plane were looking at each other like, "Dude, what the hell just happened?" Everyone. Ever since getting back home, I have noticed small differences. The first was that cassette tapes ran the wrong direction. I was 15 at the time of the crash and had a Walkman in the 80s. You'd better believe I knew what direction the tapes ran. That thing was always with me. I started to notice other things as well. Sunlight appears white instead of the yellow I grew up with. Tools I would use and buy at Radio Shack, like voltage regulators no one ever heard of. Also, brief nudity was common on TV and even on films at school. To me it was, so the fuck what? Additionally, everything feels different, even almost 25 years later. I live with a weird, disquieting feeling, like I don't fit. Success in any endeavor is very, very difficult. Like there are things I absolutely know should work that do not. Close friends will say that they feel odd around me and they don't know why, as they also point out that I am polite, hardworking, kind, and very honest. I know that plane crashed and we all died. Sure as shit, the damn thing flipped over. I was there. And then I wasn't. And now I'm here and have been ever since. I now believe in the infinite possibilities of infinite universes. I also think that if we die prematurely, we simply shift to another safer reality where we continue our lives. Though this one wasn't quite a perfect match.
Is the Golden Gate Bridge a different color? In seriousness, though, why didn't you keep in contact with at least one passenger on that plane?
Nope, big things are the same, but little details are not. As for my friends, many of us are still in contact, a few have even married each other. However, we still all have this same dislocated feeling, like suddenly everything is an uphill battle, like wearing someone else's shoes had to describe.
I was driving to school like every morning. Where I live are tiny country roads, And since the land is very rich, we have extremely deep runoff ditches, I would say 5 feet deep. Down along this street is a 4-way intersection with only 2 horizontal stop signs. The horizontal intersecting road is hidden by a very full thickness of trees like a wall. Anyways, driving to school. Be driving about 65 in a 45, because fuck it, the roads are empty right now. Wild bus out of nowhere. Swings out of a notorious intersection. Everything slows. I see my reflection in yellow an inch from my nose. My car turns completely sideways as I brace for the crash into the ditch. Open my eyes. I am driving about 2 miles down the same road close to the school. I do not know what happened. I sit in my car crying for 10 minutes and throw up in the parking lot due to the stress of grasping what happened. I have extreme, uncontrollable hate for school buses forever.
I was on a road trip with my friends, but we left late at night because my friend's brother was a World of Warcraft nerd and was doing a raid. We were pissed, but waited a few hours and left on a 4-hour drive at 9 p.m. My friend's brother was driving, and his wife was in the front with him. I was sitting in the middle of the back seat with my 2 friends on the sides of me. We were on a highway at 12 p.m., and as I was about to rest my head on my friend's shoulder to sleep, I opened my eyes and watched a 16-wheeler in front of us swerve a bit. I didn't know why. And my brother's friend said, "Maybe he's tired." "Oh shit, moose!" I sat up and put my arms in front of my female friend to my right, and we hit a full-grown female moose in a small black Saab car. It felt like time really slowed down, and I took a deep breath, and we crashed into it. We all had our seatbelts on. The glass from the windshield exploded in my face, and I closed my eyes and hit my face off the console. My friend driving is a trucker, so he swerved the car to the left and drove straight alongside the guardrails so we didn't hit another car. And so the moose went up top of the car, and we landed on the side of the road safely. The car's side curved perfectly, just stopped a few inches from my friend and his wife's face, so all they had was glass scratches. The driver of the 16-wheeler stopped and ran over to see if we were okay. We were all perfectly fine, but our adrenaline rush lasted for hours after that. And I was covered in glass, my pants, all the way inside my shirt, hair, and every pocket of my clothes. I coughed and sneezed out glass for a few days. But other than that, we were safe. My friend's father died in a car crash right before he was born, so he was probably there to protect us. Also, my older sister, when she was having her baby and lost 3 pints of blood because something had gone wrong, and she ended up being taken into the ER, and she said she saw a white light and saw my grandmother, who she was very close to, say, "It's not your time, B. Go back. You've got a new baby girl now you've got to take care of. You'll be a wonderful mom." My sister started crying, even though she was knocked out. My grandma died a year around the same time my niece was born, and my sister and her were very, very close. And the scary part is, she looks exactly like my grandmother, all the same face structure, everything. And she's a wonderful little girl. My sister went to one of her friends who's psychic and predicted my uncle's death a few years before. She said, "B, when you passed out in that ER, you died for a minute, didn't you? And you saw someone familiar who sent you back, didn't you?" And my sister was shocked, because she never told her that. She just said she passed out. On accidents. When my mom was a teenager, she played Ouija and asked when she will die. The reply was a specific year, but I can't remember if it was more specific. The year arrives. She's in a terrible car crash when they lose control. The car rolls over many times. One friend falls out, and the car goes over her. The wreck is in the middle of nowhere, on a deserted dirt track. My mom opens her eyes on the ground, also thrown out, she realizes later. The first friend that went flying out is walking around taking photographs of the carnage and the other bloodied bodies that were in the car. My mom closes her eyes. She wakes again, with an old man sitting next to her. He was trying to keep her calm and praying. An hour later, an ambulance arrives, and my mom doesn't see the old man anywhere. She was taken to hospital with her rib cage smashed in, lost all her teeth, many more broken bones, glass in her wrists and back. Her friend, who was walking around taking photos, well, she had a broken neck. My mom reckons if it wasn't for the old man undoing the Ouija evil with praying, she would have been dead. She says he was an angel.
B6, walking home from school, bright and sunny day, nothing out of the ordinary. Hear loud screeching like a car spinning out. Turn around. Last thing I remember, wake up in bed, think it must have been a dream. Look at the time, 3 p.m. That is weird. I am usually just getting out of school at 3 p.m. Walk outside to get mail like Dad always told me. Hear the same screeching again, followed by a big smash. Walk to where the screech was coming from. See a smashed car crashed into a brick fence or wall around a house. Run home and tell parents. Whole street checking out the scene and helping the driver get out of the car. Hang on. I have been on this street before. Hear someone scream, "There is someone under the car!" People move the car out of the way. Find a boy around my age at the time, under it. I've never told anyone that story. How do I explain that to anyone without sounding crazy? It's been plaguing me for years, and the only conclusion I can come up with is that I somehow switched bodies with this kid right at the moment the accident was about to occur. Does anyone else care to make any sense of this?
Your consciousness entered into his body whilst you were dreaming. I have heard of things like this happening before from people in the know who have no reason to lie and aren't bullshitters or anything else, etc. in person. So before anyone says that's bullshit, I believe shizzle like that is a distinct possibility.
This thread is fucked up. I was actually thinking about this shit last night, which was the first time in ages, as I have always thought about this since I was young, but did not know it had a name. When I was a kid, I was swept out to sea and began to drown. There were people around me and I screamed as loud as I could for them to help me, but it was like I didn't exist, 'cause they didn't seem to even hear a thing or see me. They just swam past. I ended up getting saved by my dad just in time, which I feel really lucky about. But even since that day, things have changed. I went from being a Class A student who was top of the class at everything, sport, art, and classwork, to being average even though I still knew everything I did before the incident. I also started falling out with people gradually, and I used to be the most popular guy. I also picked up a strange sense that something was not right, even though I couldn't quite place it. After I've had many incidents where I thought I should have died, such as when I was on a mountain in a snowstorm and slipped down the side of it looking for my friend at a fast speed, then suddenly stopped abruptly right before the edge, which shouldn't have been possible at the speed I was going at all. But the worst one was when I had a bad mescaline trip and blacked out around my friends. I was slipping in and out of consciousness as they were punching me in the face until I bled and left me at my dad's doorstep. This was so fucked up as these guys were the nicest people I had ever met, and we had been best friends for years. When I came to, I woke up and went outside. At that point, it was nearly sunrise. It was the freakiest moment of my life. Everything looked fake, like as if it were a virtual reality, which was scary because just before I had noticed that, I had an overwhelming feeling that I had died and was in an alternate reality. From that day on, everyone I knew were, and still are, so different, it's scary, even the ones not involved in the incident. They talk differently, have different mannerism and personalities that even contradicted their old beliefs and just feel off, as if a simulation tried to duplicate their personalities and fucked up bits of it in the process. This has given me a completely strange feeling of alienation, and it feels like I am in the wrong reality. It doesn't help that now everyone I meet has a strange instant hostility towards me out of nowhere. And when I get the thought that I'm in the wrong reality, it gives me chills, as I get a strong gut feeling that it is the truth. Just thought I'd share.
This really happened to me. I was at work, so I didn't have time to get directly to a computer. I work at a tattoo shop. My room is in the upstairs part of the shop. The lobby is downstairs, and there are 3 rooms upstairs with mine being between the other 2. I have a TV and surround system in my room, so I have visual and audio stimulation for people and myself. This is important, trust me. I had just finished an appointment and she left my room. On the TV was an old Prodigy DVD that I'd put on. I checked my phone to look at yeah, I know, and read the beginning of a post. The ring of the door chime went off and I turned my head to the right to listen to see if it was my next appointment. At that moment, I heard the very end of the song Girls and the silence before the next song. In my head, there was a quick white flash again, and I checked my phone to look at yeah, I know, and read the beginning of a post. The ring of the door chime went off, and I turned my head to the right to listen to see if it was my next appointment. At that moment, I heard the very end of the song Girls and the silence before the next song. After that happened, I was aware that I had relived the last few seconds of my life in a loop. I was completely aware of it, and I am now. It's never happened to me before. It was not like a déjà vu. It was totally different. Would anyone have a similar experience, or maybe an answer of what I experienced? TLDR, I experienced a 5-second temporal loop.
I've experienced this, but not as pronounced as you described. For me, it was more like catching time and myself unawares for just a split second. And I catch an echo of what's about to happen. And it's confusing because I think it is happening. And then it does. The more I think about it, the more I feel like it's going to happen. Or it's happening. And I feel kind of weird right now. Like reality is slippy when you start thinking about how tricksy it is. And it hears you. And it starts to fall apart again.
B4. Running to Mum's room to look for my light-up sketchers. Trip on the corner of the bedpost. Fall and crack my head open on the corner of the bedside drawer. Blood everywhere. Get up and look in the mirror. Nope. .jpg. Staggered towards the kitchen. Already lost a lot of blood. Get to the kitchen. Tug on Mom's pants. And collapse. The last thing I remember is my cousin and my mom were speeding towards the hospital with me in my mom's lap. My mom had this real worried look on her face, and she was crying her eyes out. I remember telling her that I was cold, and that I was so tired that I wanted to go to sleep. The last thing I remember before passing out for good is my mom telling me to sleep, and then breaking down on my chest and this white warm light enveloped me as I fell asleep. When I awoke, I was back at my home in LA, as if nothing ever happened. I still have the scar, though, over my forehead, but my mom has no clue where it is from. Also, there are slight differences that bother me. For one, my eyes are no longer brown, they are hazel. My hair is no longer black and straight. It is brown and wavy. Macaroni and cheese is not as cheesy anymore. The sun looks whiter than usual, and the doors in my house open out the wrong way. But other than that, everything else is exactly the same.
I have a similar story to this guy. B10, have bright blue eyes. Only friend moves out of the country. Commit self-termination after roughly 2 months of trying my hardest to be happy. Ran a boning knife down my left wrist, all the way up and down deep enough that I saw bone. This is the endable.wmv. Everything goes black. Wake up in my bed with a huge scar going down my wrist. Mum does not know how I got it. My eyes went from being blue as the sky to a more grey blue. I don't think much of it. A few years later in middle school, I started getting depressed. Make it to freshman year in high school. One day I shoot myself in the head. Woke up in bed with a bump on the spot where I stuck the barrel. My eyes are now greyish green. I wait a month. Try again, this time with painkillers and booze. Girly, but it should have gotten the job done. I woke up the same morning as the day I took pills. My eyes are now emerald green. The change was on my driver's license. The lady who gave it to me made a big deal about the color of my eyes being dingy green. I have stopped trying to off myself. I have lost all my memories of my childhood. All of them except for the days I ended my life.
Okay, I have a couple. Doing late Christmas shopping with 4 friends, forced to park on the other side of a busy intersection, crossing at the light just as it turns green. The light suddenly turns red. I fail to see it. Everyone else does. Screams from friends in absolute shock and horror. Oh God, I am going to die. It is too late. I am running too fast. Can feel the truck running the light at full speed, barreling at me. Out of nowhere, I leap an entire lane, the sidewalk, and clear a 2-foot lift up to the parking lot across the street. I am a 6'4", 280 to 300-pound man who just leaped like a kangaroo, and everyone saw this. No one can fathom what just happened. We all decide to never mention it without even speaking of it. A part of me genuinely believes I may have died back there because nothing has felt right since. Walking with a friend from Blockbuster. Crossing the street with movies and a drink in hand. A car is coming, so we hurry across. He gets across first, and as I am run-walking, I suddenly trip on something invisible. Nothing was there. I was looking down. I could see just fine. It was very well lit. I throw the movies and drink across towards my friend. He has enough time to turn around and witness what he can never define. Falling, I would have landed flat in front of the car and been hit. Instead, I am suddenly spun sideways, and when I am roughly about a foot off the ground, I am thrown spinning straight across, a foot off the ground, and hit the curb and roll up, leaving my friend lost for words and trying to understand physics, his belief system, and what the fuck he just saw that night.
This thread made me almost cry. I don't know why, bro. I never cry. I had a bad motorcycle crash last year, 80 kilometers per hour into the side of a truck, that I walked away from. I remember downshifting as I flew at the oncoming car and not being able to brake, and the split second before I hit it thinking, this is it. This is how I die. How disappointing. Next thing I know, I'm sitting on the ground with only a little bit of soft tissue damage. I don't know how that happened, because I wasn't even wearing my gear, just a shirt and jeans.
My whole life blew up after that. I up and left the interstate. Aussie. And I've just been drifting. Since really, I have the same feeling the aircraft dude posting earlier has. Like things are different, the spices people use on their food. Small things. It's fuzzy when I try to remember what's different. It's worst when I'm pissing. Occasionally I'll be standing above the shitter having a piss and look down and feel this wave of unreality wash over me, like I'm laying in a hospital bed somewhere and this is all a dream. Feels bad, bro.
Maybe we're all dead. Maybe this quantum immortality theory is true. Then again, maybe we all suffer from some kind of condition or disorder.
Sometimes I really wish I could wake up or go back to that time or place or whatever that I was in before the crash. You want to know what's super odd? I found a post on here a few years back. It makes my scalp itch and my eyes itch to think about it. So strange. The post was by a girl who was describing a similar experience, but in reverse. She'd gone to bed one night in her early 20s, then woken up the next day 10 years younger, 10 years in the past. She mentioned that whenever she tried to think about what was going to happen, or what happened to her in her future until she went back in time, she had splitting headaches and couldn't grasp details. This wouldn't have been so strange except for the fact that another anon in the same thread described the same thing, until the posts were deleted. /x/postulated that perhaps the perception of time is only linear for us, as it's the most efficient way for our format of life to interpret reality. Perhaps through some bizarre subconscious mental process, she was suddenly aware of time in a non-linear sense, which for her was so alien and scary, she clutched at a time, place, feeling in which she felt the most safe, and returned to linear time at that place, time, whatever you want to call it. The posts disappeared super quickly. I'm talking enough time to hit reply, and they were gone. Every now and then I Google around to see if there are other people who have similar stories, but results are always full of new age hippie tin hat spam, you know the crap. This is probably my longest post on /x/ever. I like to snort at the roleplay threads and laugh at people who point fingers and say, disinfo. But why? It seems that the more successful you are, the more you commit yourself to a linear chronological mindset. Why? Whenever I mull it over in my head, I feel this melancholy yearning, you know. It's this feeling like I'm asleep. It feels as if there's something under the surface, under the skin of reality, but I don't know where to scratch or dig. What if going back and starting over was as easy as thinking? What if you could go to sleep tonight and wake up 12? What would you do?
3 years ago, freshman year of college, my very first night, I and my then girlfriend were almost killed by a diesel truck. We'd been up all night driving around the town to get a feel for what was where. At around 5 in the morning, we started heading back. We got on the interstate since it was the quickest way to get back, and it was 5 in the morning, so we figured there wouldn't be many cars. We're going 90, give or take, and we start passing this diesel. As soon as we start passing it, he pulls over into our lane and forces us into the median. It had been raining the whole day before that, so the median was really muddy. I fully expected us to roll. All I can remember is my body hitting the door, and then nothing. My girlfriend said the same, but we were both totally fine, parked in the median, facing back the way we came. I didn't think to check the time, but the diesel was long gone.
Okay, I'll post the 2 near-death experiences I've had. The first was when I was around 16. I was invited to some Christian indie event at a local church, a typical stone medieval type thing with a huge spire section. As the event came to a close, my friend's band started jamming upstairs at the top of the church spire section thing, which had huge spiral stairs to the top. I had a few drinks that night and got a bit too confident and joked that I could slide all the way to the bottom on the railings. As I lifted myself onto the railings and sat on them ready to slide down, I lost balance and slowly began to keel over backwards with nothing to grab onto. Luckily, at the last second, someone grabbed me back over. I shat bricks when I looked down to see how high it actually was. Thankfully, it wasn't my time. Another one involved me and my brother in a rented car while on holiday in Crete. I was driving like a maniac trying to drift this shitty 1.2-liter Nissan thing. The roads at the side of this mountain were a straight series of sharp hairpin bends. As I approached one of the hairpins, I slipped and couldn't downshift. Immediately, I lost control as I slammed on the brakes and at the last second pulled the handbrake. We smashed through a metal fence and a few meters into the dirt. As we got out of the car, we looked to see we were literally inches away from a complete 100-foot drop. Scary shit.
Okay, here's one. Undoubtedly, one of the most insane days of my life to this day was about 7th grade. Take the bus. Get in a fight on the bus, so I got suspended from being able to ride the bus for a week. In a normal family, this would not be a big deal, right? Poor so we had one car and the school was across town, so I know I am in deep shit. I am convinced running away is the best way. Idiotic 14-year-old. Convinced my best friend at the time to run away from home with me. The bus stops midway through its route on a highway, close to my grandma's. He distracts the bus driver while I open the door, and we run out. We get to McDonald's and I buy an ice cream cone. We get to my grandmother's and my sister answers the door. So my mom is on her way to pick my sister up. I run off from the front door while my sis has a what face. She is like 4 years old. We hitch a ride from one of our neighbors, weird small town. We get dropped off blocks away, and my friend and I walk to a field to waste time. While there it is getting dark, and we meet an autistic from our neighborhood playing alone. The autistic kid tells us he can find snakes. We ask him to show us. Dude throws a PVC pipe in the air and thinks, wherever the dark side of the pipe points is where the snakes are. My friend and I are in the middle of the field, laughing, when all of a sudden, fuck, he found a snake. This autistic actually found a rattlesnake, and it was right at my foot. He yells, "Don't move," and I do anyway, obviously. I remember feeling the fucker hit my jeans, and then we start running. Next thing I know, it is daylight again. My mom's minivan is on the side of the road looking for me, and we are like across the way from where we were at. My mom yells at me. I have no idea what happened. My best friend remembers it like yesterday also. Cannot explain it.
I'd love to explain it to you. It's really complex, though. Long story short, we are all in the same alternate universe. There's probably other ones where a bunch of us are dead, but people that are dead in this universe are alive. If you think of it like a tree branch, where the tree trunk is the Big Bang, you can kind of get an idea of how this goes. Basically, from every point after the Big Bang, every action from every single thing creates a branch. So there's all of these branches every time we move, make a decision, etc. Many of them can go along the same branch. Some will split off, like when someone dies. It's really difficult to imagine, though, because there's infinite branches from every action or non-action, and they all intermingle. Maybe a tree wasn't the best description. Well, it kind of shows how it starts. The spread from there is much harder to conceive of.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.